All right. Yeah. I missed, Melissa. Which culture were you talking about where the men hold hands and arm?
It was Turkey.
Oh, in Turkey. Yeah. Because I remember when I was in India, it was super common for men to walk around hand in hand, arm in arm. But I also learned that it's okay because culturally, straight men can do that kind of behavior. But there is something about if it was two gay men, it's like different. And I thought that was interesting. It's like, oh, so we're allowed to do that as long as it definitely doesn't have a sexual possibility, but it's just like has more like a intimacy that's straight. you know, I don't know if it's like I assume it's probably like that also in Turkey because of the Arab influence.
It's definitely the way that they define gender roles here. It plays such a huge role in the way that people act. Like I've seen other countries where women are like kissing each other, holding hands, they're just always sitting right beside each other and making skin to skin contact. While if you're in America and you're a woman and you're touching like that, then you're gay. Or two women that dress alike because they're best friends, they get their hair done together, they get their clothes matching and all of that. And it's just a different culture. So I think America tries to set the boundaries, or they try to be the trendsetters, but it should really be a question of culture, however we should define masculine and feminine energy.
I guess when we talk about culture, it's of course based on centuries of that culture's behavior, right? And so it's yes, it keeps evolving and shifting, where we are seeing changes in habits of gender roles, but sort of tying in what Anjali's talking about, because women are always and will always, as far as we know it, be the ones who bear children, the ability for our culture to either recognize that as valuable or to disregard it as, no, like you're saying here, we either have to choose great career or choose motherhood, where it should be, this is the celebration of women's contribution. That's what Women's History Month should really, in many ways, I think of it, my God, it's that they're the reason we have a history.
I think, sorry, I'm not sure if you were speaking, Vatasha, or if you were going to say something. Okay, but just going back to that, I remember a few years back that there was like a study that talked about women and how depressed women were because the demands that are placed on women now, or like the rates of depression amongst women were higher because women are expected to now like be the housewife, not be a housewife, but be like a perfect house person, that does the everything at home, and then also have a career and also be, like a porn star or whatever, like be all of these things that are required of a female now with the it's just a lot of pressure on women in general, I think.
Yeah, I 1000% agree. I got pregnant while I was in the military. Mind you, I was about 30 years old, married to my husband, and we decided ourselves to have a family. But because we were about to go underway, I was demonized, saying that I was getting out of deployment, that I'm in the military, I should have put the military service first and not being a mother first. So they basically treated me like crap. they really didn't care that I was pregnant. I was still doing the same sort of workload. I was tired all the time, but I still had to get up and go to work the same hours that I did before. And I was like, why are people doing this? And so I'm thinking, oh, well, someone's doing something so mean to me. So I call my aunt and I call my cousins and I talk to them about it. They're like, nobody cares that you're pregnant. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, that's how this goes. You still have to go to work. It doesn't matter. And then whenever you get out of work, you're lucky if they give you maternity leave to stay with the baby. And then you're going to have to go back to work. And then from there, it doesn't really matter how much you need to be with your kid. The thing that they want to still have come first is the job. So if your kid is sick, that's a problem because they still want you to be at work. Meanwhile, you have a daycare center, you have a nanny, you have whoever raising your children instead of you. And it doesn't make any sense the way they want women to be all of these things at the same time. And then when they can't, then they're just weak little creatures, right? Meanwhile, we do double, triple the workload of our male counterparts.
Insult to injury, you get paid a third less, if not more.
Oh yeah, the justification for that, it's because we can't work overtime because we have to go home and be with our children. So the guy that is working overtime, he's going to get that promotion. He's going to get that raise because he can drop everything and be at work whenever they need him. So that's how they justify the raises and the increased salary rather than the female counterparts. It's ridiculous.
Do we know it? Do we have any female figure heroes that are helping push back on this that you all can think of that are, I mean, clearly this is an age-old dilemma that there's certainly, of course, been progress, but like I always say about so many of our world atrocities, it still feels very embarrassing that this is where we are at this point in time in our human race, that we live with so much lack of equity and so much harm to so many people, that we still think of war as a solution, all this kind of stuff. But can we think of people who are trying to shake the system? Is there anybody that you all look to or you get inspired by when you think about this? See, that right there is a problem. Like nobody's coming to mind. And so it means you're looking at your own culture, you're looking at your own life, and it's like, oh yeah, of course, let me name 5 people who I think are help. No, we don't have people coming to mind. I mean, I think about some of the women who are in the forefront, and they don't have a family. They didn't choose to have a family, like Oprah, career-oriented people. But you even look at some of the women like Hillary Clinton, for example. Goodness gracious, it's like, granted, I think a lot of her rise to her power came, I guess, after raising her children. But of course, she's been working all the time in politics. But anyway, it's just interesting I think Hillary is very masculine in a lot of ways. And actually, I thought Bill was fairly feminine in a lot of ways, which is kind of nice. But anyway, yeah, it's just an interesting thing where we maybe can't think of who's that perfect role model.
Yeah, I think that like for instance, the person who's supposed to be the role models are like actresses and like the most famous person in America, right? When Obama was president, was Michelle Obama, right? She was a lawyer. She went to school for how long? And during Obama's presidency, she was gardening. Like, you have a whole job. Why aren't you just going and do that? But no, you're supposed to be a wife while your husband is the president.
I kind of think, though, Michelle Obama is a pretty good role model. I mean, I do. She didn't come to mind right away, but she is someone who was a mother. But I mean, I didn't read her book. I would know a little bit about her book, but just to hear what her take was on, was it feel like an uphill journey for her with her success? I don't think that she gained her success just being on the coattails of Barack. She was her own, right? So she's a good person to look to, and a great speaker. And
it doesn't really reflect in reality, is all I'm saying. That for a normal woman who's married to someone, a guy has to make so much more money so that the woman can be at home and working. And even when you get the woman at home and working, then all of a sudden she's just a lazy housewife who doesn't do anything, even if she's raising all of the children. You know, there's so many optics that when you see someone in that sort of position, then you expect a little bit more reality. You know what I mean? But it just doesn't ever seem to happen. It just becomes a super mom persona that they can do everything. And in reality, all of us are tired.
Or even the idea, like, if you are a stay-at-home mom, it's like, oh, but what was your career? Like, you must have had a career beforehand, then we won't judge you. Like, you wouldn't be judged as hard. Like, okay, but she was this and that, and she decided to leave that. So it's always got to be, like, if you just decided to be a stay-at-home mother or to devote yourself to that, you would be criticized.
where this is putting my mind now is to think, is this a patriarchal process where we are trying to put somebody up on a pedestal as our hero? And instead, our heroes are our everyday women. It's every one of you. It's your moms, our moms. It's the people in our personal life who have just been able to keep it going with some integrity. And we don't need to figure out, okay, let's find the superhero woman, because then we all have to try to be like her. And then we kill ourselves trying to look like that. And then we get criticized for not being able to do that. And then somebody does try to do it, but we don't realize what expense it takes on their life. Meanwhile, they're actually not hating the world, but they're trying to look like they're superwoman. And that's the mess, I think, sometimes that happens with our, is it that patriarchal or even colonial mindset?
As a culture, I think that our value system is not, like, it's wrong. And the things that we value in people should be those things you mentioned, should be like somebody that lives with integrity, somebody that is helping community, or, like, I don't know, just, it's just wrong. It's based off of, like, what you have, and it's just a capitalistic system that, we're a part of, and it's really hard to be able to see people for, like, just value people in a different way, or have a different value system that, yeah.
I don't know. For me, women's history is just so sordid. Like, we have the women who didn't have a right. They just did whatever their husband told them to do. And they weren't really considered anyone who did anything but bear children. And then we supposedly moved from that to, oh, okay, now you guys are cool to go to work, but we only want you to have women jobs. And then finally they're like, okay, fine, if you want to work with us, then you can work with us. And then the economy kind of changed in that same kind of way, so that everything now is twice as expensive because now women can work. So now they have to contribute to the household. It's just, it doesn't really make any sense why everything is the way that it is. The structure just, I just can't put my mind to put it together. Like, why is there so much expectations of women and then men are not held accountable to the same sort of standards? Like, why aren't you doing the things that are feminine, you know, laundry, dishes, cooking, cleaning? Why don't you go home every day and do those things? And then you have a stay-at-home, excuse me, not stay-at-home mom, a dad, but like single dads, like, let me tell you, when you have a single dad, everyone's like, oh no. But then you have a single mom, and you're like, oh, what does she do to run off that man? Because, you know, she couldn't have been having her stuff together.
It's terrible. It's like there's a part of me that's laughing when you say that, but and then I'm like, why am I laughing? It's actually, you're spot on. But it's that ridiculousness of what we are playing out, right? Time after time. And it's just an insanity that there's somebody who wrote this article that basically talks about how we've all collectively come up with this agreement for what it means to be human. And so we've agreed that war is an answer. We've agreed that some people have, some people don't. And so there's like a mindset that people walk around with that just says, well, that's just the way it is, versus more of the mindsets which say, something's not right here. What can we do to shift this? How can we treat each other differently? How can I actually just choose to treat someone differently, even though the habit way of doing it keeps kicking me in the head? Do it this way, do it this way, don't worry about them. And I'm like, wait a minute. And that's, as I'm going to do, bring it back to yoga. That's why I appreciate that there's a practice that can say, let's block out all the external pratyahara and let's start to listen what's happening inside, what feels true, so that I can actually operate from that place rather than just be a pawn for our culture that's dominantly led by men and by capitalism and colonial mindset.
And isn't it about getting those people into a yoga studio? And like, because I think a lot of people that have a very, are very much stuck in that mindset, or that even, like machismo within like the Latino community, I think it would be difficult to get somebody that is, thinking in that way to yoga sometimes. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'd rather beat my wife and drink a beer than go and sit and meditate for an hour. It's more acceptable. Like, what? But yoga's not seen as like a male option. And I'm so grateful for the male leaders that are like, I'll be a yoga teacher, that are out here now. They weren't there when I was growing up, like, I'm old, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's different. The world is changing, and I just want to push the fast forward button so they can resettle this, because it's like, women are people too. Okay. Like, men need safe spaces and women need everything. We all need help, and we need to realize that we're all people and that burdens can be shared with each other, and feelings are real amongst all human beings. Like, these are not foreign concepts.
That's interesting, that foreign concepts. It makes me think about it as you're saying that. It's almost like certain people see this as a foreign language to talk about love, compassion, equality. They're like, I don't speak that language. It's like, actually you do. You just haven't accessed it in here. You're so busy running some other tape. But yeah, I hear you. I think it's so complicated because then there are, of course, a lot of male teachers in yoga who have also taken advantage of their role, as we know. And so it's like, okay, it's not just the yoga, but it's got to be, or it's got to be the full practice, not just the part that makes you feel all powerful and I don't know. Yeah.
There's some things that are just like infrastructurally male dominated and geared toward men. And it seems like whenever a man holds the power and they realize that they hold the power, then they cannot handle the power. Meanwhile, when a woman holds power and she holds the power, things actually just seem to get better. Like, I just don't understand why we don't have more women in higher positions when it seems like the people that are more capable of holding the power without abusing it are the females, not the men.
I was just going to say that, but that right then and there would threaten our whole system. We must uphold the patriarchy. So, and there are many women who believe in that too, actually, right? There are many women who don't believe in a matriarchy or that women have that kind of role. It's just, so that's also fascinating. But I think the more we can, that's where I think having talks like this and then how can we have this talk with the rest of the people in our communities? Or how can we attract some of our guy friends into a yoga class? Or, I mean, that's why I always come down to is education. It's always got to come back to something that is educational, because otherwise nothing will snap someone out of their trance if they don't learn something different or have a new perspective. They'll just keep thinking my way is the way my parents did it, my grandfather, my great grandfather, our forefathers. It's like, oh, good Lord, put that away.
I definitely think it goes back to something you said in the past, you and Mia, where it's about like walking the talk. And if it's a part of you, and if our practice is strong enough, then when we encounter like these people and we have those interactions, then like I feel like it naturally, like people naturally gravitate towards you, and they kind of want to know a little bit more. And like when I do my hikes, it's usually a lot of guys that hike with the hikes that I do, but I'll like get to the top at a peak or something and I'll do a little bit of pranayama. And that's how I've been able to kind of get some people to do pranayama, just like, because I don't make it like this is part of yoga. It's just like, oh, I'm doing a little breathing thing. And then you can kind of like expand on it if you ask, because I also don't want to turn anybody off or make them feel like, oh, that's so foreign or whatever it is. But yeah, I think that it's just being really a part of you so that you can really share from a genuine place.
That has 1000% been my journey. Like, if I don't embody yoga, then like, how can I teach anybody to do yoga? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. If I can't wake up every day and be who I want to be, then nobody's gonna want to be around me. Like if I'm always fighting against it and just trying to change myself for everyone else and what will make them comfortable, then I'm not embodying what I believe in. And I think that's my daily struggle, to say that, yes, I'm a woman. Yes, I'm a pacifist. And there's strength in that, you know. It's not such a dirty word to not want to war and fight, and instead just want to sit and breathe and be in stillness and silence. It's my favorite part.
Comes to mind with that too is that, and I think we're all touching on this, is it's almost like we do a disservice to ourselves if we get surprised every time we see this kind of behavior in the world. When we see this, how capitalism is playing out, we see how colonialism is, we get like, oh my gosh, why is this still happening? How come? I catch myself, because really that is what we have. This is the nature of our world. So rather than getting upset at it or even mad at it, it's like, okay, this is what we're working with. We've got we're in the terrible twos of our existence. And so I've got to just learn how to play well and find a way to help redirect some of this, rather than wish that it was like, why doesn't everybody get it? Well, they can't. It's a culmination of what has been created. This is our story. So it's like, okay, let's work with it, and then, be positive change makers rather than wishing that it was a different story. And yeah, take it from here. Be the change.
I was saying, be the change you want to see in the world. But I sang it. No one needs to hear me sing ever.
I definitely think spaces like this and help. Like this is just a great like community of like-minded people. And then sometimes when we're able to break things down, I don't know, like I always feel like some hope when I know that there's people out there that are thinking, or we're kind of like in the same place. It's very, I feel like it's a small community and it's kind of like niche, like because when people are in yoga and like kind of like speak the language and they have certain terminology that they use, and it doesn't feel crazy to me. I think at one point I would have maybe been a little more like, oh, that's they're like a little hippy dippy maybe, but that was like just somebody that wasn't fully like evolved, I guess I would say. So but being in these spaces is really refreshing, and if we could pull more people in, I think that they would like I think that there's so many more people that are looking for this space, especially right now and during this time that we're living in of pandemics and all that.
So like when we were in church, my pastor used to say all the time, being in church is the easy place. Everyone here loves God. Everybody wants to sing. Everyone wants to pray, all that greatness. The work isn't here. The work is out there. So that's what the mission and the walking and the talking and all of that. So we have to be in the world. We have to sit next to the person who's abusing their wife or who's abusing their husband. Like, those are our spaces. Like, our yoga studios can't be the place that we change the world. It has to be the people that are out there to bring them in. We just walk away and everyone's like, why is that person so chill? I just cursed them out and they didn't even do anything about it. that's the thing that people need to see to check themselves.
Vatasha has said 1000%. I'm totally with you on that, right? I think that's what I feel. Oh, go ahead.
But I think that this is our recharge button.
Definitely. Yeah, we have to have that place, kind of like Melissa was saying, where we can come and speak the same language. That's just easy. It's not, we don't feel threatened or challenged, so that we build our confidence. We maybe even build more skills with how we understand it, and then, yeah, take it out there. I mean, that's what a lot of yoga masters have said that and Swami Satchidananda would also say, it's not what happens with that 1 hour on the mat, it's what happens with the other 23 hours that we really are concerned with. So I loved your analogy with the church. And I think that's what I feel like I'm seeing as the issue or the matter with a lot of our current yoga studios is they become the little escape havens, and everybody's just running there to feel the feels. But then they go back to just default mode. And you run away again as soon as you can, get to the yoga studio to feel the feels, and then you Whereas when you go to the yoga studio, let it be, yeah, the recharge button, that's got to be the perspective rather than it's my escape. That helps me just trying to think about, what am I creating here with Mukunda Studio? That's why I was like, I know I don't, the way the yoga studios are right now in the world, that's not what I want. And I don't know how to make it different yet, but I don't just want people to run in here, oh my God, that felt so good, and then run off and go yell at their whatever. But I don't know, we're human. Maybe that's as good as it gets.
Everyone's like, you remember like all these history, oh, not history, it's not history, it's science fiction, same thing, right? So they say that if you go back in time and you kill a butterfly, the next thing you know, we have dinosaurs roaming the world. Like, I think it's that. It's like, even if a little bit of something that we do changes someone's life, then maybe they'll take that with them, and maybe the world changes that way. It's not the big things, it's always the little things. And I like butterflies, they only live for like 24 hours. So
It's the subtle things.
Well, I love where this has gone. This has been an amazing arc as we're getting close to our end time. I think that I just know this is what happens when we come together with an intention of our ideas and thoughts. And yeah, I feel my mind was opened more, and I can only imagine if Anjali got to participate more. I don't know if you saw Melissa, she's at the pediatrician's office with her son. She had to, so I think the doctor's been in and out while she's been with us, but.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Yay.
All right. I'm getting ready to leave here now. And of course we're ending our meeting, I think. So I'm going to have to go back and listen to the recording.
Good. Well, I'm hopeful that on Sunday, this may be, if you want to jot down a few thoughts to make sure that, that gets brought up again, but we'll run it a very similar way. And we have another teacher, she's still able to make it. Her name's Bryn. She teaches here at the studio, and she agreed to be a part of this. So hopefully she'll be involved. And I don't know if Mercy wanted to be involved or not, but in any event, I just like what happened here today. This is good for me. But thank you for, yeah, being interested in this as a conversation. And any last thoughts?
I yell a lot. No, I really like, I like learning every time that we come together. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. That's something new. That's something I can use. And I love that about this every time.
No, I really just appreciate like all of you, but especially Mukunda, because you're like kind of putting this together and, you know, creating the space. And I know that you are somebody that is like fully committed to your practice. And so it's awesome to be able to like learn from you and be a part of this with all of you.
Thank you. Well, you're all a part of the creating of what this is, whatever this space is. So it really means a lot to me, because it's been a little overwhelming to like, where are my people and what am I doing? So you, without, I don't know how much you realize it, but you really are part of the foundation of making the more nuanced layers of what I wanted to bring. Like I've got my students and I've got all that, but this is really amazing. So thank you. All right. Well, so grateful. And I'll send an email later on with some of those talking points. And then I'll also, when this recording finishes, I'll send it to you all just so you have it. And then I'll try, if I should have time to, if not sometime tomorrow, to make a little excerpt to post so we can share and try to get folks. But all right, I got to run. Let's do one Om together. Inhale. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Okay. Bye. Talk to y'all soon.
Bye.
Bye.